This video is going to be a bit more philosophical or conceptual than normal, but go with me. I want to talk about what Lumix even means. And what I mean by that is the feeling, the connotation that the brand has. When you hear Lumix or you see a Lumix camera, what feeling comes with that? This is really important when it comes to marketing and brand awareness, all of that. If I say Nike or Lululemon or Adidas or Reebok, all of those kind of have strong connotations, associations you might make in your mind. Premium, athletic, I don't know, basketball, football, track, right? Each one kind of has its spot, place in the market. And a lot of that is reinforced through commercials and advertising, but then also how the products get used, who uses them. And when it comes to cameras, if I said Canon or Nikon or Sony or Blackmagic or Red or Arri, these all have fairly, strong connotations. I think all of us can kind of picture what each of those brands feels like in our minds. But I want to ask you, what does Lumix feel like? What does it mean? If I think back to the days of the GH5, which arguably was maybe like peak Lumix time, lots of people shot on the GH5, loved it. A lot of people you'll see now on YouTube talking about their history will reference that they had a GH5 at one point and then sold it and moved to Sony or Canon or Nikon. They'd moved to Red, Blackmagic, somewhere else. The GH5, when I think of that time, Lumix to me was it always meant just like low budget filmmaker. I don't know why that's what I always associated it with, because that's truly what it was. That's who we were. Everyone shooting with the GH5 was kind of that low budget filmmaker type of person, doing video production, content creation, certainly short films, feature films, music videos, documentaries. You can do anything with these hybrids. But at that time, it was micro four thirds and there was no autofocus, but it had some of the best, most powerful video features in a hybrid at that time. 4K 60, 10-bit 422, like really good, powerful features in a hybrid. And that's why a lot of people got it. But there was really nowhere to go from the GH5, like upwards. If you were going to go shoot on a Red, now you're dealing with a different lens mount, a whole different set of glass, different workflow, different, there was no stepping stone. They tried a little bit. Panasonic tried with like the EVA1 or maybe the AF100, but it just never quite fit. But the GH5 was very popular. So I always thought, okay, yeah, like low budget filmmaker, but that's kind of what you expected. If you saw someone shooting with Canon, you knew, okay, they've got money to spend and they maybe had the DSLR lineup. Maybe they went to the cinema EOS side of things and they were spending a premium to have that Canon equipment. It has no bearing on the final product. Maybe their content was worse, maybe their videos were worse, better, who knows? A lot of times the camera doesn't matter as much as the person using it. So it's not to say that one is better than the other. It's just that connotation, that feeling, that vibe you get. Red has certainly probably the strongest vibe of any camera brand I could ever think of. When you think of Red, you think cool, you think badass, you think, man, this person, they're professional, they're serious. Again, their actual content could be terrible. There's a lot of stuff shot on Red that doesn't look good at all. It looks bad. In fact, a lot of people, just because they have money to spend on a Red camera doesn't mean they're actually talented, but there is a lot shot on Red that is really good. I mean, Hollywood movies for a while, like Red was a driving factor there. Shot on Red, big, bold brand. Now scooped up by Nikon, still kind of waiting to see how that's really going to unfold. But I don't know. Nikon is certainly another one that has strong brand connotation, but I think that's for like the worst. Probably a lot of people associate Nikon with kind of lame and boring and dull, even though their modern cameras are some of the most powerful in terms of features that you can get at an actual value price, at a discount. Something like the Z6 Mark III or even the Z8 are really affordable considering all the amazing features that they're packed with. But there's still that connotation of the brand that Nikon just isn't cool. Sony has certainly done a good job getting everybody to join their team. And I don't know, in hindsight, it was kind of easy, I think, all things considered, but now Sony definitely has a vibe, more professional video hybrid, all of it. I don't really know. It's not good or bad. It's just this is the people who are working are shooting on Sony. If you're especially on a crew, you're shooting Sony. That's just kind of the way it seems to be these days. They're the most common cameras out there that you see. At least I see from my perspective. Most people have Sony cameras. Again, full frame mirrorless, autofocus, stuff that we've talked about a lot. Good low light capabilities, right? They kind of got a few things right and they dialed in on that and they got everyone on board. Smart moves like the FX3, the FX30. But what does Lumix mean? Does it mean micro four thirds? No, not really anymore. They've got full frame cameras. Does it mean terrible autofocus in video? No, they've got really good autofocus in video now with their phase hybrid autofocus. So that's not really it. Are they film cameras or for filmmakers? It doesn't really seem to be their target. That's more like Blackmagic in my mind. They seem more like for filmmakers, or Arri. That's for cinema. So what is Lumix? It's not for photography. There's people who have complained that there's flash sync issues, which, yeah, there's a delay when you use when you do flash photography on these cameras, but certainly workable. It's just a difference. It probably could be better and should be improved, but it's not a deal breaker, at least for me. So other people might disagree. It's just a quirk. But they're not photography cameras. They're hybrids, but that doesn't really mean anything. That doesn't feel like anything. They're making moves now with the S1 Mark II, the S1R Mark II, trying to get the hype out there, get the marketing, get the YouTubers on board. But unless you see them out in the wild, is that going to make a difference? The Lumix, for the most part, people don't even know what it is. A lot of times people ask me, what camera is that? And I say, it's a Lumix. And they their eyes kind of open up like, what did you just say to me? I've never heard of such a thing. People are familiar with most brands, and you throw a curveball at them like Lumix and they go, what? I wasn't expecting that. Imagine, if they're expecting, hey, what type of car is that? Is it a Ford? Is it a Chevy? Is it a Toyota, Honda? Oh, it's a Pelican. You're like, I've never heard of a Pelican car. What are you talking about? It's kind of how people look at me when I say I shoot on Lumix. Okay. So until more of them are out there doing the work, the brand is kind of open-ended. It doesn't really feel like anything. And I think that's exciting. I think that's fun. That's possibility. That's potential to write what I think is what these cameras are best at, which is the kind of new age of content that we're in, where you've got tools like AI speeding things up, driving costs down, but you have consumer habits where everyone is watching video. When I went to film school, this was in 2007. I almost said 2017, but gosh, longer ago than that. 2007, I went to film school. And at that time, YouTube was 2 years old. You went to film school to go make movies, to go to Hollywood, to make films. I never wanted to do that. I just knew I liked video. I wanted to create content, what has now become a content creator. That's what I always loved. I don't care if it's Hollywood. I don't care if it's on TV or in a movie theater. I just want to make something, tell a story. It should look good. It should sound good, and it should be entertaining. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And it's worked out that the internet and social media has embraced video. How often do you see photos anymore? Instagram is reels and stories, TikTok. Can you even post a photo on TikTok? I don't know. YouTube, you can post a photo over on the community tab, but YouTube is for video. Shorts are there. Even on some of the other social platforms, video has just taken over. And what are people spending their time doing in their free time? Oh, what are you watching on Netflix? What are you watching on Hulu? Have you seen the new season of The Bear? Hey, what's over on streaming on Disney Plus? Are you excited for Squid Game or Stranger Things or HBO or, streaming video? Again, it's everywhere. That is the uncharted territory we find ourselves in. People want to watch more and more and more than they ever have ever before. And they want it to be made by real people, oddly enough. I think YouTube, the numbers are shocking. It's staggering how much time people spend watching YouTube compared to what would be traditional television or movies. Yes, movies are still popular, TV shows are still popular, but when it comes to how people spend their time, it is overwhelmingly, I think, on social media. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but it's staggering. And evaluate yourself. I spend more of my time on YouTube than on Netflix or anywhere else, but I enjoy stuff on Netflix. I enjoy stuff on Hulu, but I also spend a whole lot of time on YouTube as well, or on Instagram or wherever else. Probably to a bad extent, right? Like we all have this problem, the smartphone addiction, the screen, the doom scrolling. It's been said many times and everyone's kind of aware, like let's reduce that. But still, the appetite is there. There's more and more people, eyeballs and their attention demanding content. You're wondering, okay, like, well, what can fill that? Your phone certainly can, but I don't know if you've ever tried to like shoot something intentionally with your phone. It can be done, but it's not the optimal way. It's kind of a pain. You got to strap a bunch of extra stuff. Like you're putting on like an SSD on the back or some kind of memory card holder, plugging it in. Then like, where does the microphone go? You got to get like a little adapter box, and then, oh shoot, it's like overheating or the battery's running. Got to plug it in. There's, are you going to put like an external battery on here? Okay, now it's like shaky. I got to get a rig to. The phone is good for like quick little shots out of your pocket. It is the camera you have with you all the time. So as a default, you end up taking the most pictures with it, the most videos with it, probably. But if you want to make something good, like even like vlogging and stuff, I really don't think the phone is the best choice for that. So content creation, okay, it's not the phone. So we need one step up from a phone because we can't go too far because you're not going to shoot. I mean, there's some YouTubers that shoot their videos on Red cameras or Blackmagic cameras or Arri cameras. But like in general, like you're not going to do that. You're going to use more of like a hybrid. And so I see like if Lumix plays their cards right and they do a good job, which it seems like they're kind of headed down this road, like be that camera for the people that like want the professional features, but in an easy, affordable package. And it can be the creator camera. And that's sort of a market they're trying to tap into. And everyone has been for the longest time. You'll see cameras marketed as like, this is a vlogging camera, or this is a creator camera. Get the creator bundle. I think that's like one step too far. We don't need that. We just need good tools. If I go to Home Depot and I buy a drill, it's not like, oh, this is the drill for, who's it for? I don't know, construction. This is the drill for home builders, or this is the drill for do-it-yourselfers, or this is the drill. Like maybe that comes across a little bit in their marketing, but at the end of the day, you're kind of looking at like specs and colors is really all it is. And you just want it to do a good job. Now, who picks those tools up does reinforce. I think, there are the brands, going off on a tangent here, but yeah, at Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards or Ace Hardware, whichever hardware store is your preference. Maybe you have something else local to you. Those brands even have a vibe as well. Every brand has a vibe. Lumix, I don't know. I think it has a lot of potential. Kind of like, I've always looked at it as like the Swiss Army knife of cameras. I can take it and do something high budget, super professional and premium, but I can go run and gun something super simple. I can just take family photos with it. I could do a documentary. I could do a wedding. I could do content creation. I could do anything because it's just a solid, reliable tool that gives me the most features at an affordable price. And because of that affordable price, I can now get multiple, either having a team of people or doing some of the stuff I've done where like building out camera rigs that are more than one camera. I think that stuff is super cool and powerful in today's landscape of content creation. Again, people just want like they're swiping, they're doom scrolling just like you are, just like I am. Everyone's doom scrolling, swiping through the next thing. And a good chunk of it is shot on an iPhone because that's what people want. They want the authenticity. I think something like Lumix can be that step up for someone who's sick of filming on their phone and going like, this is a nightmare. It's not the right tool for the job. I need something better. I need something that's versatile. I can do more with. I can make a short film. I could do a music video, but I could also just make a YouTube video. I could vlog. I could do a documentary. Like I can do all of it That's what I think that is powerful. That is the selling feature. And granted, there's other camera brands doing very similar stuff. Canon, Nikon, Sony all have cameras in that range. So there has to be something beyond just that that makes Lumix feel the way that it does. And I don't know what that ought to be. I'm not their director of marketing. I'm not their creative director. I have no idea what it should be or ought to be, but I think it's just going to be reinforced by the people who are using it. You know, the stories that are being told with these cameras, and that kind of builds the brand over time, but it also needs to be reinforced by the marketing as well, because it is a powerful thing to have a brand like, I mean, the most recent success story I can think of is probably Liquid Death. Just getting the branding right, just being cool and fun and hip is a selling point unto itself. It can be water in a can, but that can feel cool, or it can feel lame, or it can feel healthy, or it can feel sustainable. A lot of it is nonsense. It doesn't have to be any of those things, truly, but it's the feeling of it. And like it or not, that's what people gravitate towards. That's what people buy. That's what sells the most. And I think it's one of the things that, like, oddly enough, has hurt Nikon the most, is that their brand is not cool. Maybe they can change that. Maybe you can change that. Maybe I can change. I don't know. But these are all the things that, you know, reflect back on the brand, that vibe, that feeling, the emotion you get associated with it is important, maybe even more so than what the tool is actually capable of, believe it or not. There's plenty of things, you know, plenty of limitations across all the brands, each individual kind of in their own way, that, you know, don't actually matter for people who want to just buy the cool thing or buy the thing that gets them to fit in and be part of the club and be part of that team. Same thing is true of Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. Each one of those feels different. It has a vibe associated with it, separate from the games, but part of the games as well. And over time, those brands shift and evolve and change. And, you know, Nintendo is Nintendo because of the choices they make. Sony and PlayStation is the way, like, intentional choices go into making it feel the way it does. Same thing for Microsoft and Xbox, and then all the other ones that have come and gone along the way. Sega, if you're old school. So I don't know. What do you think? What should Lumix be? How should it feel? Who should they cater to? I think when you call it out, that's the mistake. Don't say who it's for. Just say what it is. And those people will gravitate towards it. You know, you don't have to tell people. Maybe you do. I don't know. I'd have to think more about it. It's too in the moment. But I think it's annoying and it's kind of cringe when you say this is a vlogging camera. No, it's just a good camera that happens to be good for vlogging. You can use it that way if you want, but it's just a good camera. And it's this size, this weight, these specs, these inputs, these outputs. Just give us the details. And then the story can unfold around that via the visuals. But when you say it, it's just, ugh. Oh, this is a camera. This is a documentary camera. This is a wedding camera. I don't think I've ever seen that. No camera has been marketed, the wedding camera. And they're doing it now with some of the streaming. This is a streaming camera. This is a, what have I seen? Some of the vertical ones, you know. This is a streaming shopping camera. I don't know. When you target that specifically, I think it loses some of the appeal. So don't make that mistake. Don't say what it's for indirectly. Like, oh yeah, you can use it for these things. It's good for those things, but it's not a vlogging camera. Ugh, who wants to buy a vlogging camera? No, you buy a good camera that is also you can use for vlogging. That's the right approach. And the cooler, the better. I think they're onto something with that S5 Mark II X, the blackout logo. That's cool. More cool cameras. I like it, but they do the colors with the S9. Is that it's not cool to me, but maybe it's cool to somebody. I don't know. Less like consumer. Like we're missing the red left, right? They're over at Nikon. They're not that cool. The cool aesthetic of red has not rubbed off on Nikon yet. Maybe they'll get there. there's this lane, this cool lane where Lumix could scoop up some of that red appeal, but maybe not so aggressive. You know, red's kind of like, ugh. Like they had an EVF called the Bomb at one point. I think people were getting stopped in airports because they had a thing in their luggage that said bomb on it. I think that's a true story. That was years ago now. But yeah, you know, maybe don't have an EVF called bomb or the word bomb written on it, but it could be a little cooler. Canon, Sony, they're not. Sony always makes me think of like television remotes. That's all I can think of when I think of Sony and like the aesthetic of it. But the people who use Sony cameras are very talented and make great stuff. But Sony, Canon, for a time, Canon was pretty cool. I don't know anymore. What do you think? The cool factor. It's kind of you can't really prescribe it, but you know it when you see it and you feel it. But you have to be able to tap into that. And I think there's room for it. It could happen. Or maybe Lumix will just always be that unknown underdog no one's ever heard of, scratch their head. Lumix, what's a Lumix? I don't know that. What is that? You drive a Pelican? What are you talking about?